Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I'm doing some hunting stuff this weekend. I'm going dove hunting, and I'm going to work on putting out feed for deer and setting up deer cameras and zeroing in hunting rifles. It's going to be a hunting weekend. I'm taking both of my sons. That's why I'm ready to buy some hunting land. That's one of the things I plan on doing once I finally decide to sell some XRP. If I sell, that's the plan. We're still over 4 trillion in market cap in crypto. XRP is sitting around 302, kind of flat right now. The U.S. government are now all crypto bulls who are pouring gasoline on the fire to try to make this industry a raging success. This is unprecedented. 1 year ago, it was the opposite. Last bull run, people were buying NFTs and memes and cartoon monkeys. It's permanently blue chip season. More specifically, American blue chip season, XRP. All right, check this out from Paul Barron.
So right now, odds on 88.8% as of this morning that we're just going to get a 25 bit cut in this next September 17th. Then we'll see probably another 25 bips in the October meeting and a final 25 bips in the December meeting, and probably pick up another 25 bips in the January meeting. So you'll have 3 to 4 in very short order in the next couple of months.
All right, so that's a full point by January. So this is still all pre-Powell's exit in May of next year.
So right now, odds on 88.8%.
Whoops. 1 point by January. Might have to buy a house. Okay, if there's anybody who is still out there that believes crypto was not created for this 100-year change in the financial system, you need to buy an igloo. I'll have an igloo made for you here in South Georgia, but we need to wait till summertime so that it melts really quickly. And you should buy that because you still are a little slow. This crypto's national security, XRP's national security, it was all created for this, to solve the debt problem, all this stuff, folks. It's very obvious. And many are still just talking about green candles and they don't get it. Well, here's Jim Rickards. Just think about what he's describing here. It's all about currencies and devaluing currencies, and it's digital currency wars is what it is. This guy was in one of the 3 letter agencies, or at least he was a contractor with one. And there's a reason that he specifically goes out of his way not to mention crypto in these clips too.
There's a lot of buzz around the world of, the BRICS are coming up with an alternative currency, and people are getting out of U.S. treasuries and losing confidence in the U.S. dollar. U.S. budget deficits are out of control. The U.S. debt is out of control, et cetera. And none of that is basically true. These are talking points, but they have to be put in a context. The U.S. debt, $37 trillion, that's a big number for sure. But you can't think about debt without comparing it to the resources. What is the GDP behind the debt? What are the assets on the other side of the balance sheet? And those are the kinds of things the Trump administration is talking about. And so one of the most influential advisors in the White House right now is Stephen Moran. He's an economist, but he wrote a paper last November on basically reconfiguring the entire global trading system. Pretty big claim. In there, he calls for something called the Mar-a-Lago Accord. And by the way, that was the title of Chapter 6 of my book, Aftermath, which came out in 2019, last time I was in Australia. So I'll take credit for coming up with the name. But his version of the Mar-a-Lago Accord looks at tariffs, trade, and exchange rate values, and kind of getting to your question, Jordan, about the Aussie dollar. Now, let's say I put a 20% tariff on the United States, and I put a 20% tariff on a trading partner. So some goods are, let's just say 100, it could be 100 million or whatever, but 100 as a measure, and I throw a 20% tariff on it, now it's 120. But what if the trading partner devalues its currency by 15%? So it was at par, let's say hypothetically, and you drop it from 100 to 100 down to 85 to 100. Well, that negates the impact of the tariff, because yes, the tariff marks up the price, but if you're the producer and you can lower your local currency costs, your labor costs and so forth by devaluing your currency, you dilute the impact of the tariff. So what he is saying, and indirectly what the White House is saying to U.S. trading partners, is we're going to put these tariffs on, so that's a given, but don't you dare devalue your currency.
Sure.
We're going to devalue the dollar. And any trading partner that tries to offset the tariffs by devaluing his currencies, there are going to be consequences to that. And he uses what I call the traffic light system. He says red, yellow, green in the U.S., that's the traffic light. But he said we're going to divide U.S. trading partners into three categories. So green, you're a friend, you work with us, we've negotiated the tariffs, you accept the tariffs, and you accept the fact that we're going to devalue the dollar. Yellow, you're okay, you're not an enemy, but you're not our best friend, and you may suffer higher tariffs. Red, you're an adversary, clearly China and Russia. I think it's a mistake with Russia, but China and Russia would be in that category. You're going to get tariffs, if not sanctions, etc. But in addition, this is where it gets tricky. He injects national security considerations. Like, wait a second, this guy's an economic advisor, maybe a Fed governor, but what's he doing talking about national security? Sounds like Henry Kissinger. But he said, if you're in the green category, you will get the benefit of U.S. military protection. Sure. You'll get the nuclear umbrella and more. If you're yellow, we may work with you, and if you're red, you can expect that we'll be in an adversarial position. So the significance of that is he's putting military might and security guarantees behind his claims about the U.S. dollar and exchange rates. Now, that's only been done twice in U.S. history. One was between 1971 and 1974, when Richard Nixon closed the gold window. It suspended the ability of foreign trading partners to redeem dollars for gold. The second time this was done, where the goal was to devalue the dollar, was 1985. James Baker was Secretary of the Treasury. Ronald Reagan was president, but this Baker really took the lead on this. And using some of these indices I mentioned, the dollar was at an all-time high, and Baker said, no, it's not good enough. We have to devalue the dollar. So the dollar dropped about between 15 and 20%, depending on the cross rate at the time. So here's the third instance of the U.S. engineering a devalued dollar. This isn't the markets doing this. This is the U.S. Treasury insisting on it.
Writing's on the wall, folks. Look at this from Gemini. Today is the day. They went IPO today. It looks like IPO price $28 a share. I had retweeted this and said they're valued at $3 billion. This is a great comp for Uphold, which to me is a much better exchange than Gemini. And then I had to point out to the Winklevoss brothers, they're talking about Bitcoin's going 10 times from here. I don't see any problem with that. But speaking of 10 times, if they had held up their XRP card instead of the Bitcoin card, they would have gotten 10 times the views today for their IPO in this segment.
Mm-hmm. So I think there's a lot.
But I did mention, I know there's still an XRP blackout in play there at CNBC, so it's not their fault.
Overlap in the companies, but one of the biggest, coolest products that we have today is the Gemini credit card. I actually brought our Bitcoin orange card that we released in May, and every time you swipe, you can earn Bitcoin or any crypto that we support. And I think that people realize that up to 4% back. Up to 4% back. Yeah. And that's in crypto real-time rewards that hits your account every time you swipe the credit card and buy. So you could buy a flat screen and earn Bitcoin back, and in the future that Bitcoin could be worth more than the original purchase. So it's much better than...
How do you access that? Or can you? Or do you leave it there? Or do most people you find just leave it sitting there?
It's real time, so as soon as someone swipes, that Bitcoin or crypto is in your wallet, and you can then spend it or stake it. We think you should hodl it. And some merchants, we're even offering up to 10% back. So if we think Bitcoin's a 10x from here, so your purchase today at 10% back is actually free.
That's what I have to
tomorrow.
say. When I first heard about this, I thought that's a really interesting way, because it's the equivalent of, rounding up on every dollar you spend or something.
Right.
You're not thinking about what's going there, and you can save it and hold it. And it's,
Yeah,
I mean, you're not changing your behavior. You're going about your day, but you're investing in your future. You're future-proofing yourself. And so that's super important versus cash is always depreciating, right? Cash is never going to be worth more in the future. And points, who knows what that's worth? It's a total.
Okay, yeah, they left 10 times the views on the table there. Mr. Huber from ETHgate coverage fame. Hey, Joel Katz, what do you feel when people like Jim Cramer on national television on CNBC explain the American public that you are an architect of a con and a huge scam? He says, David Schwartz says, I forgive them, for they know not what they do. I retweeted this and said, they know exactly what they're doing, but it's good that you forgave them. I mean, come on. And then here, this lady right here,
yeah, and you can
exact title, here it comes. CBOE, Global Head of Derivatives. And I said Bitcoin for the last decade has been like sitting in those commercials in a movie theater before a movie plays. Usually I get through most of my popcorn before the movie ever starts. That's how many commercials they are, and we all have to suffer through them. The real show starts soon, the XRP show, and this time I have plenty of popcorn. True story.
SIBO is building when it comes to digital assets. We're talking about Bitcoin and Ether now. But where are you looking outside of the products that you are already offering and the ones that you are waiting regulatory approval on, like this one?
Yeah, and you can imagine that when we get, I'm going to be optimistic here, when we get regulatory approval, this methodology has application to additional products as well. You might think Ripple, Solana, name your underlying token. This could be extensible to other digital assets. It could also be extensible to other types of assets as well. So, we're trying to just get these first two over the line, and then I think you'll see us innovate quite quickly.
Okay, in DAIXRP.com, which is the Patreon, if you'd rather join through YouTube, click the join button below any of these videos, or you can click subscribe through through X by hitting the subscribe button. I'm going to cover something that we don't talk about out here on YouTube. I'm going to show you something that we just don't talk about. I'm a digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. Here we go.